Alright, you guys, so I know some people like to groom their cats in a sink or an enclosed shower area, but I personally prefer to groom my cat in like a big tub. I feel like I just have more control over my cat that way. And also it's taller and bigger. It's like a jacuzzi tub, so she can just easily jump out and run wherever she wants to. Also, I like this specific tub because it has a kind of manual shower attachment. So I like that aspect of it. So I also attach a leash to her collar. She does wear a collar during the grooming session that I use to attach the leash to. Though I will say that I do remove the collar at the end just to help her air dry. But for the purposes of attaching a leash, I need the collar on during the grooming session anyway, so I do use a leash. I will link it below. It's just from Amazon. It's a cute little pink leash. And basically what I do is I have somebody else holds onto the leash for me while I groom her. She doesn't really run away during the grooming session, but I find that it's just helpful. I feel like when the leash is on, she knows it's on, and so she's less likely to like run away, or if she does, she's not gonna just go everywhere because the bathroom I do the grooming in is rather large. So if she were to, just start running around, that would be a little bit difficult to deal with. So that is why I use the leash on her. As far as what I wear, I don't really have any like cat grooming appropriate bathing suits. So instead what I do is I just wear some spandex biker shorts along with like a spandex kind of t-shirt. Basically you want to wear something that isn't going to absorb water and isn't going to weigh you down, because if you get in the tub with your cat, you are definitely going to get wet. So you definitely want something that's going to be, fairly waterproof. I mean, you still get wet, but it won't weigh you down is the point when it does get wet. So that is what I usually wear. And obviously you don't want to wear something that you deeply care about, although it's just water and soap, so you're not really likely to get it dirty, but still it might get scratched up or whatever the case may be. So to get started, I am going to use like a little like cotton pad, and I wet it a little bit, and I just use that to wipe her eyes because she's a Persian, so her face is flatter than most cats, so she gets like stuff in like the corners of her eyes a lot more. So I just use those pads to wipe them and clean them off, and I recommend doing this not just during a grooming session but anytime, really just to keep her from getting like an infection or whatever. But honestly, she's never gotten an infection, so it's fine. I think they're just used to it. So the next thing that we're gonna do is actually proceed with the washing. So what I do is I use the like hose thing on the bathtub. We have like a little hose thing so you can manually wash yourself, and we basically use that to first obviously get her completely wet. And usually I do, because cats have a body temperature that is slightly warmer than humans, I would recommend that when you do this, you use slightly warmer water than you would maybe be, like not hot water, but just slightly warmer water than you would maybe think was appropriate for a human. Just so she doesn't get, your cat doesn't get cold. But yeah, that is basically what I do. And as you can see, she actually really likes this part. She doesn't really fight. She just kind of sits there and lets it happen. She's very good about the washing part. She's less good about the other parts where you like actually put shampoo on her and like all that. But anyway, so that's what I do. All right, so then I'm going to be doing a shampoo and conditioner on her. So I will link the products that I use down below. They're very easy, very simple, and basic. One of them I got on Amazon. The other one you can just buy at like your local ShopRite or just any like store. I assume pet stores also probably have shampoos and conditioners. Anyways, I use something specifically for cats just because I don't want to harm her skin with any random chemicals that they might put in human conditioner that might be harmful to cats. So, anyways, so I put that on, and as you can see, I kind of rub like her back and kind of just rub her all over her butt, her back, everything. The only area that I don't do is I don't wash her face at all, just because I don't want to get soap in her eye. And usually I put on a bubble thing, and I will link it below. It's like a astronaut bubble, and you just put it on the cat, and I like it. She can breathe through it. There's holes in it, and it just prevents her face from A, getting super, super wet, and B, from me being bit. So it's actually very useful in my opinion. And you just adhere it with Velcro. It has like a little Velcro strap. And so yeah, I just continue to use soap. I do her belly a little bit. I'm not a master groomer, so I don't do a great job with that because she doesn't love it when I touch her belly, but I do try my best to really, really rub it in, because you obviously want to get any gross dirt out. Though she's not usually dirty because she is an indoor cat, but she usually has a lot of dandruff and oils on her skin from just, living the cat life. Basically, I shampoo her, I wash her, I rinse her, and then I condition her and rinse her again. And when you rinse, you want to make sure that that the tub is actually draining, that you're not covering the drain or whatever. So make sure to use some Drano in the tub beforehand, because otherwise your tub is just going to fill with soapy water, and that's going to eliminate the point of washing your cat. She's just going to be filled with soap and gunk. But anyways, basically you want to rinse her down completely. And what I do is you want to make sure that the pressure of what the thing that you're using is high enough to really get all that soap out. Really spend your time just removing as much of that out, because you do not want like excess soap and gunk in there. And then what I do for her belly, because it's very hard to get to her belly and she doesn't like it when I touch her belly, is I go ahead and I just kind of, it's hard to explain, but I kind of flip the manual sprayer thing and the handle, and I flip it underneath her belly, so that way I don't have to move much and she doesn't have to move much, but I can get the stuff on her belly. And she's very fluffy, so she kind of turns into a wet rat looking thing, and it's very cute. All right, so now once I am completely done, obviously you're gonna turn off your water, and then I try to just like kind of squeeze all the water out of her tail. So usually at this point, she doesn't like to be wet, and she just kind of runs away from me and goes to her little dry area. So I have an area set up with a towel and just a regular hair dryer, and basically at this point I proceed to take a towel and I wrap her in that towel, just to kind of soak up any of the excess water And then I just go in with the hair dryer and just gently kind of warm the towel just to again absorb as much as I can of that water and make her feel a little bit more comfortable, because now she's going to feel cold. Before I proceed to really air dry her. So yeah, and I'm not a professional groomer, so I don't have any kind of professional grooming, hair drying tools. I know there are those like things that you put your cat in, but like I don't want to put my cat in like locked in a cage thing. Like I don't know, I feel bad doing that, so I just do it this way. The only thing that might help it to not take as long would be to potentially use one of those attachments that kind of is like a flat kind of like a duck kind of attachment. Maybe I'll like put a picture on the screen. I didn't use it here, but it usually comes with most hair dryers, at least like most, hair dryers that you would get at like a beauty salon place. And that can kind of help to really focus the heat. But other than that, I really don't use anything that's special. I just use whatever hair dryer I normally use it myself. And as far as the heat goes, she definitely takes a really long time to dry. I don't even fully dry her in this video. Like she takes forever to dry. And she doesn't love it. It's not like she likes the warmth, but she doesn't love sitting there and having to like deal with this, and then I kind of brush her and then I dry her and then I brush her and I dry her. So she really doesn't like it. So I try to focus my efforts on her back and her tail. And then I usually don't do much with like her paws or around her neck. That usually ends up being mostly air dried, as well as like her butt, because I just don't want to put heat on her butt. So yeah. And as far as what I do with the heat setting, I don't usually go in with like a cold heat setting. Again, I want to keep her warm. So I usually go in with a pretty high heat setting. I don't do anything in particular, but I would just recommend when you do it, make sure it's not too like super powerful, but also make sure that it's hot enough that it's going to dry her. But again, I don't really have any like particular recommendation. Obviously, just be careful not to burn your cat's skin. Like make sure it's not so hot. And then what I do, and this is where having another person is useful, is I usually have someone else help me to do her belly. So what I do is I kind of hold her up where I squeeze her front paws and then her back paws. So that way someone can get to her belly, and then what I do is I just kind of have that person air dry her belly. And for some reason her belly furs are a lot curlier than like the rest of her fur. But anyway, I have them do her belly just so it's not like dripping wet, and it's fairly dry. But again, usually I don't end up doing much with the belly. It's usually fairly hard to get the belly completely dry. But yeah, and then what I do is you'll see in some cases, I'll take a brush, I'll comb a little bit, especially in the belly area, and I just use a regular brush because you really want to get into it. You don't want to just add fluff, like you want to really get into it. So you just use a brush, and I'll brush her a little bit, I'll air dry her, brush her, air dry her, especially her belly because I don't want it to be knotted. But again, she doesn't love this part. I'm not a master groomer. I don't really know like what is acceptable or what I'm supposed to do. This is what I do. And yeah, it's kind of not the best.
So at some point when you're done, you feel like, okay, she's not soaking wet. She can walk around the house and not be completely wet. At this point, I take off the bubble on her, and then I tried to dry her a little bit around her head because she was still wet, and she just like ran away and was done. So that kind of marked the end of the grooming session, and I just kind of let her go and let her air dry for the rest of the day. And then after a few days of letting her dry, I brush her fur out again, after which she usually returns to her full puff mode. But overall, that is what I do.